And I'm Thomas Schauer, director and partner at Taste Motion, a tabletop production company, and all about food.
I'm Becky Donahue from Taste, the executive producer. And thanks for having us today. We're excited to talk to you.
Becky, you're in New York City. Thomas, where are you?
I'm in Pennsylvania right now. So I have a country house in Pennsylvania, just 2 hours north of New York. I think what's going on in the city. So I'm really happy to just go outside, take a walk. So.
Well, you look good in nature there. Becky,
Still in New
what
York,
have you been up to?
A lot of inside time, which it's good for me because I'm a little bit of a homebody. And it's good though. The city seems to be coming a little bit more alive, but I've been doing fine.
Thomas, you've been doing high-end food photography for years and in the last decade added motion to your work. What came first for you, food or photography? And what sparked your interest in both of them?
Food definitely came first. My dad, on the weekends, I went shopping with him on the market, and then we cook on the weekends. Then my mom was just pushed out of the kitchen and we took it over. So I was very little, and he showed me what is a good produce. You go to the market, what is a good peach, what's not a good peach, And so I learned it and I joined it from the beginning. And then photography came when I was 15. I started photography, and since then I did nothing else. So just one job in my life.
Who were your influences as photographers? Who were you attracted to? What kind of work?
It's just a very, not really specific one person I can hold on, just the nature of capturing, have some ideas in your mind. And what I do right now, I'm not just walking out and do documentary style thing. I just creating images in my mind. And then I figure out how I can technically make those images beautiful, exactly what I have in mind. So it's just a creative process that attracts me, and just the tool photography really, really like the technical aspect at the same time as the creative aspect. A couple of years ago, I think it's now 10, 20 years ago already. So I stopped looking at the photographers too much because I saw it influences my work too much almost. So I look at paintings, I look at architects, I look at musicians, but not particular directors, photographers.
So over those 20 years, you've done over 20 cookbooks. And with some of the most famous chefs in the world, famous high-end chefs like Daniel Boulud, and Lear Lev Sarkars. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Can you describe the process of working with these chefs?
Working with the chef, that's really, really very special. So it's very close connected with the chef. It's just sometimes, when I shot, for example, the cookbook with Dominic Ansel, the chef, they came up with the Cronut in the city. We met at 4 o'clock in the morning, just the two of us, and we shot the cookbook, And at 11 every day we've been finished. He walked back to his bakery. So it's a very intimate process and a very straightforward process. So I'm always hooking up with the chef, try to learn what they try to figure out, and then I come up with a visual style. I don't feel I should put my style on top of the chef's. I have to find the right language for them.
Do you collaborate on which recipes will be best for photography, or is it just like, hey, here are the 20 dishes I want to make?
Books are quite a process. It takes 1 to 3 years to usually a cookbook, So the recipe is one thing. The theme, is it a high-end? Is the book about a chef? Is the book about a specific point of view, or whatever it is, And then I'm come into that when the recipes get tested, Usually for the cookbook, the recipes get cooked at least 4 times, get tested first. Then we decide together which one looks best. And then I ask the chef, can we maybe plate it differently? Or can we find it a different structure? Or can we shoot it differently? Just make it more interesting. So it's a process,
The portraits you've done of the chefs are really wonderful. You don't expect that from someone who specializes in close-up photography to capture.
Yeah.
What did you have to learn in that move from 1 frame to 25 per second? And I want extra credit for using the European standard.
Yeah, you're right. Very well done. Funny enough, my photography, I always saw it capturing one single moment out of emotion. So I never went into still photography. I have to capture this whatever bottle standing here right now. I always thought about, the bottle, the light comes through, and it's just part of the motion. And then I have to single out 1 frame of the motion. Always my mind worked that way. And then there came the chance around to get into really high-end production and shooting with really high-end crews, high-end equipment. And that was my entrance point. Then I saw clearly, now I can execute the quality I have in my mind with all the people helping me on the shoot. So that was for me the magic.
Is there a big stylistic difference between working on a cookbook or any kind of, say, editorial photography or motion, as opposed to working on a commercial? Because to me, American food advertising doesn't really allow subtlety. I don't see a lot of stylistic expression in food photography.
Mentioned before, working with a chef is a very close process. And I got the trust of the chef when I work with Jose Andres. He never looked at the screen anymore after the first 5 shots because he loved what he saw in the first 5 shots. And then he totally put it on my side. And of course, I have to say the projects are much smaller. The budget's much smaller. People are less scared. When you have big budgets, of course, you have to always be responsible for everything. You have to answer questions from how many levels you have on top of you. So the projects especially on cookbooks, are very lean and can be very, very creative. On film, we have to fight for that every day. But I think that's also part of my job. Yeah, always bring better images in front of the client, trying it again, get rejected, try it again, get rejected, try it again.
I've seen so many incredibly beautiful tabletop directors' reels, and now being introduced to yours. And somehow you never see that when you see ads. And I don't understand. It's just like, oh, we're going to find the next guy. We're going to find this incredible guy. And they don't bring any individuality to it. Is there a way around this at this point? Or do you think we're kind of stuck in that right now?
There is kind of an answer to it. Like anything, there's nuances that separate people. And there's nuances that separate really beautiful work. This type of work is very macro, and it ends up being just little things that make a very big difference.
Clients feel so secure and so comfortable in one way, and then basically they just want to make it look really good and appetite appealing. That's the main task what I'm facing.
We should bring something special though, Bob.
What plans do you guys have in place for doing remote work? And do you imagine any of your clients showing up on shoots anytime in the near future?
The priority is to keep the crews incredibly lean. So if we want to see 12 to 15 people on a stage doing work, it's not going to be able to include clients or agencies. We'll be tapping into Qtake and Zoom and whatever is going to be the most effective way to stream everybody in. For us, most importantly is just the health and safety of everybody that we're working with.
Tabletop shoots I've been on always feel much more intimate. You go on a stage and there's always a cluster of people right around the camera. How are you going to deal with the social distancing protocols that are going to be in place that are going to interrupt that intimacy? Clearly, it's something that could slow you down. You probably have to fight to keep your concentration and make your day longer. It's going to be an interesting challenge.
My last project before the shutdown came, I was shooting in Miami, and we put in place already protocols. Everything started early in Europe, and that's, from all my friends, learning from what's happening in Austria, what they learned, what they put in place already 2 weeks ago. So we were wearing masks, everybody, gloves, disinfection. We had special people just walking around disinfecting all the time. The crew, when one of my grip guys touched my camera and there was a guy just cleaning the handle of the camera. So it was really great. So we have high skilled people, and also we rented a bigger studio. So everything can be separate. There was a separate studio, smaller studio. All the kitchen people have been there. It was 8 people just for a food stylist, but there's just only 2 people was allowed to walk on set and bring the food, and props was separate. Client was completely separate. We're renting bigger spaces and spreading out much more what you usually do in the tabletop.
And as Thomas said, Bob, we did really have kind of a dress rehearsal. And I feel like as a company, and certainly Thomas as a director, got a real feel for how this is going to look.
Most people I've been talking to about live action, and they're expecting at least a 25% reduction in productivity because of all the measures. Do you agree with that for tabletop?
You definitely lose 20% for sure. But we have to just plan it very smartly, but you cannot overwork the people, the helping us, the food stylists, because wearing a mask is really tough on your body.
CPAT, the Producers Association in Canada, their recommendation is 10s and 12s And
I agree.
they just think it's going to be so stressful on everybody.
And Bob, I have to say as well, as you mentioned, the stress level, you feel the tension in the room because nobody knows when I touch this now, is this something dangerous? You don't know, you just move around and in your mind, you always have this little bit in your back. So, and then concentrate on how beautiful that burger has to be. So you have to really be focused and just push yourself.
Becky, what are you hearing in New York? DGA and IA and Teamsters working with production companies?
Well, from what I'm hearing, there are no new official agreements. They're really just doing this and being very cooperative about it, but just working on a case-by-case basis. There's no new official rules.
People want to get back to work. They seem to be cooperating, but we'll see what
are.
happens. We'll see what happens when those agreements go up for vote or they come out, right?
Right.
You maintain a studio also in your hometown of Vienna. Yep. It seems like using your studio in Vienna and your crew would be a real viable alternative to shooting in the States. If you want to shoot in Vienna, can you get there?
We are totally ready to shoot there. It's the streaming thing, the 6 hours time difference that could be adjusted. We start a little in a different time matter. We start a little later, then we pretty much aligned with the US time zone. So we have everything on our disposal.
With how this has started out with Europe opening up a bit more sooner than us, we have been getting requests, and we feel like we're in a good position because of Thomas being able to get over to Europe very easily. And Stuart Parr, another one of our directors based over in London, is also in a great position because he can easily move around too.
In preparing for this, I've been thinking a lot about the food culture and how it's really exploded in celebrity chefs and cooking shows. And it seems like people all over the world are now demanding better prepared and more interesting, a higher level of food. Do you agree?
Absolutely. That's also the wonderful thing for our area where we're in the tabletop, in the food sector. So people are more used to it, and also people demanding more. I got when I go out with friends, how they're starting shooting their food on dinner because everybody does it. So you have to do it as well. They're choosing different angles, to be very smart when to shoot it, how to shoot it. They're asking some questions about it. And now in this, of course, when we stay at home, we cook more as well. We have more time to spend a day to figure out what we like to cook, how we can learn something to cook different.
There's so much emotion wrapped up in food, so much relatability that people are emotionally attached because of family or travel.
Everybody has his child memories. Everybody
Yes.
has their favorite time where they eat the best burger. And usually is that what your grandfather made for you as when you've been a little kid. When I grew up, I had a lot of experience with food throughout my family, and that's always in my mind. And always, the chicken soup from my grandma always stays the best. It's just and just this thing is just, for me, magical. That keeps me also so motivated to shoot every day. Whatever it is, pizza excites me, burger excites me, stew excites me. I shot a cookbook with Daniel Boulou, the high-end chef, all about stews. So every picture was a stew. So it was the night. I have to say nightmare project, but I was so proud to make it happen because everything, when you cook a coq au vin, a chicken with this red wine sauce, and you eat it, and even though your lips just stick together because the sauce is so thick and so intense. But how you capture that? It's just a black, brownish thing, and there's chicken buried underneath a sauce. How you can bring that thing what you have when you eat that in a picture? So it was super challenging.
Becky, do you have one dish that you associate with family or something that only your mom makes?
For me, it was more my grandmother. She was a big, big cook, and every single thing she did, she made special. It wasn't that there was necessarily one meal, but everything she did was really special.
What do you think is next in the world of the culinary arts? What do you see even now?
I think food right now in the last 10 years, it becomes like what fashion was before, setting trends. Because really, chefs coming up, they're pop stars, they're setting a trend. Before it was a fashion designer. And then we have people like Jose Andres, the Spanish chef. He gets in when there's a crisis, he goes there and takes his skills, he takes his knife skills and his smartness and his taste level and go there and feed people in need. So it's amazing. It's just he came from the high-end celebrity chef area, and now he's feeding people in need. How awesome is that when you can do that with your profession?
I think that when London got good restaurants. That's kind of when the whole thing flipped, because England never had great food, and now they have great food. Both of you guys cook. Thomas, we've discussed your connection to food and how it happened. And Becky, you went to cooking school and at one point thought about opening a food company. What have you guys been cooking during lockdown?
For me, I shot a cookbook with Zachary Cooper from P&Q, all about bread. And he's a bread whisperer, I have to say. He made his sourdough bread. So I learned so much on the shoot, but I never find the time, watching 5 days my sourdough starter and feed it every day with a little flour, and I did that the first time and was really happy. And now we have beautiful spelt sourdough bread in our house,
I have to say probably the most fun I've had too is downloading that New York Times app. It's a great food app. Just getting inspired by that every day, cooking all different kinds of things.
What have you learned about yourself over the past 2 months that surprises you the most?
I guess, I know I work in advertising, but there's something kind of peaceful about not being such a consumer, because I guess there's less choices to be made in any given day. There's something that's almost relaxing about that.
For me, what I learned throughout the time is really how little I need really to be happy, and also how little things just brings a lot of joy in my life as well. Just watching the trees growing, just having the time, going to the same spot every day. Then you realize our friends here, they have a farm and they have baby goats. Just watching them growing up, it's just really a magic, and how much joy that can bring. That's what I learned as well.
Thomas Schauer and Becky Donahue from Taste, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Be well, be safe, and see you soon.
Thanks, Bob.
Be safe as well. Thank you very much. Take care.